How are you doing? Welcome to the RXTX 300 install of a 1500 rule bilge pump. I'm going to show you what has to be removed, which is very easy to do. The Supercharger intake line is going to be removed, and down in the bottom right there underneath the hose for the Supercharger is going to be the pump. I'm going to show you how I have designed to fit this together. I'm going to trim this up and I'm going to show you this is going to be the protector for the pump once we have it down installed, and it's going to hold it in place. We're going to wind up drilling some holes through here. Going to be tie wrap down. Looking at here, once you run your wire through the inside of this PVC, like I'm going to show you, it's going to fit down again right over top. You're going to have PVC coming across this way and the other way to hold this unit in here, and all these tie wraps are going to hold it in place down inside the hull. Right, we're to the point right now where the bilge pump is in place, as you can see down there. It isn't moving. It's got very little play. It's away from the exhaust. It's protected with the 4-inch tubing, the PVC tubing that I put in. And the best part too is the Supercharger air intake holds it down as well from bouncing around. A few tie wraps, and then I ran the line underneath the shaft all the way up to here, and I'm going to install it right on the side so the water comes out in the well. I don't want to have it come out the back. I want to see if I have a water issue, and I want to observe it. All right, the hole is cut. I believe it was 1 1/8" hole. And also, when you give yourself, I gave myself a pilot hole from this side here, and then I went on the other side and drilled it. You're going to want to put a towel down, because as you know, we spray. I'm about to cut the hose and put the other piece through. Some of you might be wondering what this valve is here. This is the shut-off valve that I put in. I used the existing hose from the stock setup, and what this allows you to do, if you're ever stuck and towed, you can shut this off. The water won't come in from the grate, so you can tow me 30 miles an hour. I don't care. Nothing's going to damage or fill the exhaust system, which would possibly fill in some of the go through right some of the exhaust valves when they're open and ruin your motor and not know it, especially if you're letting someone else tow your. To tell you about this, but the Supercharger hose intake, I find those screws very loose. So the clamps, the hose clamps I call them. So what I did was, when I took that off, I wiped the inside of that hose completely dry with lacquer thinner, and I wipe off the fitting that the hose is going to fit on, and then you can tighten them up and you're assured that those hoses aren't blowing off. I'm not sure just how much pressure is in them, but because it's a Supercharger hose, I think that there's a lot going through it. So you want to make sure you don't have any oil in there. When it came off very easily because there was oil in it, and so I like to wipe them off. This piece here that you might see here is another addition that I put on. Some of you may not care about it. I bought the ski rack for $300 and found out that I really am not going to use it. So I designed to put this on here, and I'll show you later what that looks like when it's all together. I use them for tie wraps when I put my big rack on here to hold extra fuel. They work great, and you're not going to tow by them, but they're great for tie downs. I also use a black silicone sealant for this piece here. It's probably not needed, but I'm going to slide it inside, and I'm going to seal it up properly, and then I know that it'll be watertight as well. Today we're going to cover the electrical. To finish this job, I have a 3-pole switch. I have my connectors here, my 30 amp fuse, my inline fuse holder for the mini fuse, 3/4 inch hole saw, which will be used to mount the fuse up in the front section. I'm going to show you that I cut the insulation off of these because I solder them. That's what I do on all my electrical. Solder is the best. And then after you have them, the wires soldered, and you plug these plugs inside, I'm going to show you that I silicone seal each one so it is definitely waterproof and sealed tight. And moving forward, I also want to let you know that some of this is the high-end stuff. A heat gun from Ace is not bad. My soldering gun here, that's about $125. I can regulate the power, and it'll never allow you to have a cold solder joint, which is crucial. I like to do things once and do it right, and I don't have to worry about it ever coming apart and not functioning. Your rosin, your solder, and heat shrink tubing is crucial. A lot of people don't use heat shrink tubing, they just use electrical tape. Important to use that. I actually will solder two wires together, put a little silicone, slide over top the heat shrink tubing, and then heat shrink it, which gives me double protection, knowing water will never get inside. Stay tuned, and I'll show you the completion here and as we're moving along. All right, I want to show you this left side panel is what I chose. This comes off fairly easy. Actually 2 screws, and then understand how the rest of this just pulls back and lifts up. I decided to put the switch right in this section right here, which it's underneath it next to the stereo component buttons, but anyway, it's right out of the way. If I can manually turn it on, the light will show me that it's on and then shut it right back off again. Very easy installation, and inside here has plenty of room, and I'll show you how I'm waterproofing that in a minute. Right now, all the ends, the grounds are connected and soldered. The positive that's going to the battery, soldered. Inline fuse, red would be from to the pump. The yellow is from the other portion of the switch, and everything is looking good. The switch is now installed right here. There's the switch. I don't have the silicone on it yet because I want to hook it to the battery to make sure everything is working properly. All right, continuing on with the 3-pole switch. Everything here is all been siliconed. The hole was drilled. The switch was pushed through. I silicone it down, and I silicone all the terminals so they are held securely. The rest of the wires here, I'm going to dual stick tape to the shrouding on the outside here. I'm going to stick it back into place. This little piece here, I had to drill a little hole. I have some heat shrink tubing over it just to protect the wires. I'm going to let that stick out a little bit, and I'm going to silicone that as well, along with this in here after I heat shrink it, and then you'll be sealed and ready to go. Everything down here is already, you have your inline fuse all tucked in out of the way. But bear in mind, as you put more terminals on your battery, the screws that you use to tighten down the terminals will have to be changed for a little bit longer. Do not try to use the stock ones. I have a GPS unit that's also on a fused system. The GPS unit sits up here, and that's also live, and it also has a fuse hooked to it. And that's about it. Everything's working. And again, thank you for watching. It's just an old man here trying to be helpful to people who might not know how to do this. This, I feel, is the proper way of doing it. And there's only one way to do it, and that is the correct way. Solder all your solder joints, and do the right thing. And that's the only place you're going to fit it. Again, what this model is, RX-TX 300 horsepower. And I'm going to do the same thing over here on my GTX that I bought for a spare for when friends come and they want to go riding. I let them use that particular one. Anyway, have a great time, and thank you for watching, and please like this if you do like the video.